We ask the questions.
What is needed in the world for this
He is one of Kenya's most popular politicians, but is facing charges of crimes against humanity at the International Criminal Court. William Ruto is running to become Kenya's deputy president in the March 4th general election that is hoped will turn the page on the post-election violence of 5 years ago. Ironically, Ruto is accused of being one of the instigators of the unrest in the last election. A prominent leader of the Kalenjin tribe, he was indicted by the ICC for perpetrating inter-ethnic violence that left more than 1,200 dead. But he's revered as a hero within his community. In what's seen as a shrewd political move, Ruto joined forces with his once bitter rival, presidential candidate Uhuru Kenyatta, who also stands accused of crimes against humanity for his role in the last election violence. Together, Ruto and Kenyatta represent two of Kenya's biggest ethnic groups that have always dominated the highest office. In a country where people tend to vote along tribal lines, will theirs be the winning ticket? And what would their victory mean for the future of Kenya? William Ruto talks to Al Jazeera. William Ruto, thank you very much for talking to Al Jazeera.
Thank you very much.
Kenya has gone through some very difficult times. What will be the first action you take if your ticket wins the vote in March?
I think the single critical issue that faces our country at this point in our history is the challenge of millions of young people who are not gainfully employed. They have no access to credit. They have almost hopeless. And to us, the 4.5 million young people who have some education, some of them very good education, is our first priority, our first order of business. The other issues that we will tap into is tap into the huge potential in tourism. This country has the best tourism product, I can say, in the whole world. Of course, that is also influenced by the state of our security in the country. As the Jubilee Coalition, we have a blueprint on how to turn around our security sector. We intend to turn around our food production machine. We believe that a well-mechanized system that includes subsidies on fertilizer and seeds will expand our food production together with irrigation so that we eliminate the shame of hunger in our country.
You're scheduled, Mr. Ruto, to appear before the International Criminal Court in The Hague in April. If your ticket wins the vote, will you still appear before the court to answer the charges of crimes against humanity against you?
I guess that's the whole reason why you came to interview me.
Not really.
It
we
is.
want to know more about...
And I want to answer to you directly that we are very responsible, law-abiding citizens of this country. We know our constitutional rights. We will attend The Hague when that comes up in April. And we will do that at every other subsequent request until this case is determined.
But as you know, the court hearings in The Hague can last for months. So a power vacuum could in essence happen as soon as you and Mr. Kenyatta are inaugurated. Is it really feasible? Is it really practical to attend these hearings while you're trying to run the affairs of a country like Kenya? How will you be able to carry out the official duties while making court appearances in The Hague, thousands and thousands of kilometers away from Kenya?
In other words, are you suggesting that we should not go?
I'm not suggesting anything. I'm just asking you how you are going to make it possible to run the affairs of a country like Kenya and also defend yourself against the serious charges that you face at the same time.
I'm sure you're aware that that court is run by human beings. And I guess they will be reasonable to understand that once we are elected as the Jubilee coalition, they will have to live with that fact that we have been elected, not selected. We didn't get to power through unconstitutional means. They will, and we expect them to put into consideration the fact that the Kenyan people, exercising in a democratic manner their right to choose their leaders, will have chosen two Kenyans, despite facing charges in the ICC, to run the affairs of their state.
That says a lot about Kenya, in fact, and I'll touch on that in a few minutes.
So that will be something the ICC will have to factor into the whole of this case.
So again, Mr. Ruto.
And I am confident that if the court is run by reasonable people, they will think about how to run the case and give us opportunity to run the affairs of our country.
Mr. Ruto, you won't use the immunity powers that come with the presidency to ensure that this ICC trial won't happen?
We're aware, and very clearly so, that no immunity is available under the Rome Statute for any president. We are very clear in our minds. We have, even the plain reading of the Rome Statute clearly says that.
The recent survey shows that many Kenyans believe that if you and Mr. Kenyatta were to be elected, that you wouldn't, in fact, go to The Hague, that we're looking at an Omar al-Bashir type scenario, that Kenya would stop cooperating with the International Criminal Court.
Now you're talking to me. So you will have to choose between believing what I have told you and the rumors you've heard from other quarters.
But doesn't it send, sir, a negative image of Kenya to have two of its most senior politicians who are facing trial at The Hague also running for this country? Doesn't it send a negative message to the rest of the world?
That is the point. In fact, you've gotten the point. The world should ask itself, 6-7 million people who vote for two gentlemen indicted by the ICC, are they mad? Or there is something absolutely wrong with the charges at the ICC? Because that is our contention, that the whole of these charges, the people of Kenya know. They live in this country. They were here in 2007. And if we had participated in the manner in which the charges have been framed, the people of Kenya would have nothing to do with us. But because they know what happened in this country, and because they know the conspiracies around this case, in the ballot, the people of Kenya want to prove that indeed we are innocent. They want to say, despite of everything else that has been said about Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, we have confidence in their leadership.
Right. So,
and I think that message should go more to the people out there who think about us in that negative way. They should really reassess their position.
How are you planning to defend yourself against some of the allegations made against you? The ICC alleges that you were a key planner of a campaign of violence in your home territory of the Rift Valley, that you allegedly supervised the purchase and distribution of weapons, gave instructions to target people. Of course, you are innocent until proven guilty. They say they have a lot of evidence against you, they have witnesses, but you say all this is wrong.
We are not going to conduct the case here, are we?
No.
Thank you.
You're not going to answer?
No, we are not going to.
You're adamant.
Do you want really to defend myself before you?
How are you going to discredit them?
That's the business of my lawyers and attorneys.
Are you disappointed that the current Prime Minister, Raila Odinga, isn't also standing trial at the ICC because you were his lieutenant at the time of the violence in 2007-2008. And there are a lot of people who believe that the accusations that are leveled against you couldn't have happened, that what you're accused of couldn't have happened without the knowledge of Mr. Raila Odinga?
The charges that we face have no basis. Absolutely no basis. And I wouldn't be disappointed that any other person is not framed, because the charges are not true. So it really doesn't matter how many people are in or how many people are out. It matters to me that the charges are not true. That's as basic as it gets.
Let's talk about your alliance with Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta. There are a lot of people who say that it is an alliance of convenience because you would want to avoid the ICC. You denied this, of course. There are also those who say that this is an alliance about the numbers, the ethnic numbers, because you and Mr. Kenyatta are representatives of two of the biggest tribes in Kenya. And Kenya is a country that tends to vote along tribal lines. What do you respond to those? What do you say to those as who say that the only reason that you decided to come together with Mr. Kenyatta is to win, to get the tribes behind you?
Well, I think those are escapists, convenient reasoning or trying to reason out the situation conveniently. The fact that we are together with Honorable Kenyatta for purposes of bringing tribes together is absolute nonsense, because in 2002, we were in the same camp with Uhuru Kenyatta. In 2007, we were in different camps with Uhuru Kenyatta. In 2012, 2013, we are again back together with Uhuru Kenyatta. So it isn't anything about tribes. We have a chemistry with Uhuru Kenyatta.
A good chemistry.
We have a history with Uhuru Kenyatta. And therefore, my association with him has absolutely nothing to do with ethnicity or numbers. Of course, it's convenient for people to bring in issues of tribe. When I supported Raila Odinga, why weren't issues of tribe brought around? So these are people who have realized that the combination and the chemistry between Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto will win this election in round one.
In round one?
Absolutely.
You're confident
sure.
that you won't go to a second round?
Absolutely.
You sought the nomination for the Orange Democratic Movement as its presidential candidate in 2007, and you lost, and you backed Raila Odinga then. Now you are with Uhuru Kenyatta as his deputy. It must be a bit disappointing for you to always be the second man.
That's what I choose.
You choose to be the second man.
I'm a very
but you wanted to be the leading candidate.
I'm a very
in this current
reasonable man.
election. Yes.
I am a very reasonable person. I judge a situation. I don't exaggerate what I know. I weigh myself. I look at the options. And for me, at this point in time, I decided to step down my presidential ambition to create a winning formula between me and Uhuru Kenyatta. And I won't tell you about the details of how we arrived at it.
How?
Or how we agreed on how to take this forward. Because
it could have been you leading the ticket. It could have been you leading the ticket and Uhuru Kenyatta being your deputy. You have a lot of political experience.
That could as well be. And
why wasn't that the case?
We discussed all that, among other things, and we finally settled that we go it this way.
Why wasn't it the case that you were leading the ticket, despite your huge experience politically?
There are many reasons.
Was it a money issue?
What money? That he has more money than me. This is not a money game. This is a game of political
action. Let's talk about the current violence. We're seeing a rise in these tensions in Tana River. Some people are calling it ethnic tensions fueled by local politicians. What, if you were in government right now, you're an MP, of course. If you were in government right now, what would you do to quell these tensions? Because the Kenyan government seems to have failed. We've seen dozens and dozens of deaths in recent months leading up to this election. And there are a lot of people that fear a repeat of 2007 and 2008. Why is this not being addressed?
It is really, really unfortunate that government is taking a whole lot of time in getting to the bottom of this. In fact, a commission was formed, which to me is really a waste of taxpayers' money, because we have a whole intelligence service, security intelligence service, that should be and has a 4,000 man, force that would actually get to every village and get the government to understand what is going on and where the problem is coming from. It's really surprising that both the president and the prime minister have taken their time, issue useless statements on what is going on.
So how would you have done it differently if you were in power?
Firm and decisive action should have followed, at the very beginning, very firm and decisive action should have followed. I think the casual statements issued by the president, the prime minister, about this and the other, are really inadequate. I think this is a very serious situation. 162 Kenyans so far have died in Tana River. That is something that would stop the whole government, and get people working.
That doesn't seem to have helped heal the wounds of 2007, 2008 as Kenya prepares to vote again, because justice hasn't been served and this type of violence seems to be still going on.
I think what you see in Tana River is not the kind of thing that happened in 2007. 2007 was the whole country was engulfed in violence.
Let's talk about the issue of corruption. This government has claimed time and time again that it would fight corruption, and yet two of the biggest scandals in recent years happened during this administration. You yourself, Mr. Ruto, were suspended in October of 2012 on corruption charges. You, of course, defended yourself. You faced serious allegations and you had your name cleared. But it seems that government ministers in Kenya are always surrounded by this controversy, this issue of corruption. Is the Kenyan political elite serious, really, about tackling corruption?
When my name was mentioned
in the
main scandal, I stepped aside. 4 government agencies investigated. The Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission, they cleared my name. The audit department in the Ministry of Finance cleared my name. The Criminal Investigations Department cleared my name. A forensic audit by Coopers cleared my name, right? And when I was cleared, I was still sacked. To tell you that all those allegations were made for purposes of getting me out of office.
Of getting rid of you think?
Absolutely.
But it wasn't just the main scandal. There was also the Kenya pipeline scandal. You always seem to be surrounded by all these controversies. Is it really just, by chance, or?
The pipeline case was a case that happened in 1997. It was dragged on and on and on and on and on, but finally, it was cleared by the High Court. And for your information, I didn't even have to defend myself. For your information, the case was dismissed on a no case to answer basis.
Right. So you think there are people that are out to frame you?
For your information, I didn't even have to say one word. I needed not say anything. So because the people who brought those charges against me, they themselves could not even prove that I had any case.
Okay. You're known to be a very successful businessman, Mr. Ruto. There are some who believe
Is that so?
Let me just finish. There are some who believe that you will put your business interests first once you are in a leadership position, because this is a country where politics makes it easier to make money. What do you respond to this?
I have shares in a couple of businesses, some of them
How much money?
family businesses.
How much are you worth, Mr. Ruto?
That information you can get is public. Yeah, it's public document.
Tell us.
You go to.
You've always said that transparency is key. So
Absolutely.
how much money are you worth?
That's why I'm telling you, it's public knowledge. What William Ruto owns is public knowledge. It's just as good as that.
Okay, so you won't use any leadership position to advance your business interests?
I haven't done that in the past. I'm not about to. I am very clear in my mind that if I wanted to be a businessman, I wouldn't be seeking for leadership of this country. This is not my calling. My calling is not to do business.
What about
my
the people
calling
around
is
you? The people around you who feel that now is their turn to eat? How are you going to deal with them?
No, I think they will be in for a rude shock because they will really have to either do business the straight and narrow, or they will have to face the music.
There's, as you know, a lot of skepticism about Kenyan politicians. Kenyan parliamentarians are some of the best paid in the world. Shouldn't, again, Kenyan politicians be leading by example?
Our position as the Jubilee Coalition is that the Salaries and Remunerations Commission that was set up to make sure that salaries, wages of all public servants, politicians included, must be put on a scale that is even, so that every Kenyan is paid what is due to them. And I think what Parliament did was against the Constitution. The Salaries and Remuneration Commission should have been the body that would propose, if any, allowances or bonuses for members of Parliament.
There is a lot at stake in this election. Elections have consequences, economic consequences notably. The United States has already hinted at possible sanctions at Kenya if any of the ICC suspects were to be elected president. This could be disastrous for the Kenyan economy. Kenya could become another Zimbabwe. Is it worth it for you?
Let me frame it this way. When Kenya was a single-party state, sanctions were threatened unless we open up for a multi-party democratic state. Today, you want to tell me, we are telling Kenyans, if they exercise their constitutional, democratic right to choose their leaders, somebody will think of imposing sanctions. Then what is democracy? At the heart of any democratic state is the right to choose leaders. I mean, that is a right that is at the heart of any constitutional state. If you tell us, the people of Kenya today, that you are going to prefer sanctions because the people of Kenya have exercised their democratic right to choose leaders, then there is no value for democracy. I mean, then there are people within and without who want to impose their puppets and stooges because they do not want the people of Kenya to elect their leaders.
And you believe that you can deliver for Kenya?
Absolutely.
While at the same time appearing at the International Criminal Court?
I have told you, we are living in a world that is real. I mean, you should be able to ask yourself, the people prosecuting this case should be able to ask themselves, Kenya is a democratic state. If the people of Kenya choose to elect William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta, who are facing charges in The Hague, they are clearly sending a statement. They are making a statement. They are sending a signal that, hey guys, whatever you think of these guys, whatever charges you have against these guys, we have a different view. We believe these guys are not what you want to demonstrate that they are. That's really something that any reasonable person who believes in democracy should be able to think about.
Thank you so much, Mr. William Ruto, for talking to Al Jazeera.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.